Info Edge, let's get in an outlook post the first quarter numbers. What is the kind of business recovery that they're seeing on their various portals? That's Naukri.com, 99 Acres, and how are they gearing up for Policy Bazaar after a dhamaka from Zomato next? Let me welcome on board Hitesh Oberoi from Info Edge to talk about all of these parameters. Hitesh, hi, good morning. Good to have you on the show. Let's first start talking about your earnings. We'll come to the investment climate in just a bit. But your billings have improved by about over 65% actually. How are the trends across businesses like Naukri as well as 99 Acres and Jeevan Sathi?
Well, we've been pleasantly surprised by our performance last quarter. This is despite a terrible April and May because of the second COVID wave. Last year, of course, our business was massively impacted. But this year, thanks to the war for talent in IT, we've not seen a market like this in the last 15 years, frankly. The talent market is super, super hot right now. Every company is hiring. Every company has higher attrition than they had, a year ago. In fact, attrition levels are at a level which most companies have not seen in the last 10 years or 12 years, especially in IT and digital companies. So that's really what is driving growth in Naukri. And even July was very, very good, very, very positive for us. So let's hope this continues. The non-IT part of the business is still under pressure because that's more indexed to the Indian economy and to what happens on the COVID front. But we are confident that even that piece will start to recover, in the second half of this year. 99 Acres was, of course, a little different because it was massively impacted by the second COVID wave. People don't buy houses. Unlike hiring, hiring can happen digitally. Companies are happy to interview online. They're happy to make offers online even without meeting candidates. But people don't buy houses till they've sort of seen the house a couple of times and so on, right? And I think that was impacted massively by COVID in Q2. So there, of course, the recovery for us was muted. Business grew, but we expected to grow much more. But even there, we saw a solid recovery towards the end of the quarter. June was better than expected. July has been great. So even that market is back on track. The Shiksha business also continues to do well. It has positively surprised us. In fact, it made a profit this quarter for us, of course, on a small base. So all in all, things look very, very bright on the operating side, unless, of course, there's another COVID wave. So fingers crossed. But if this trend continues, then this should be a very good year for Info Edge.
Interesting. I just want to get back to the point that you were making, that when it comes to Naukri, you've seen the best quarter in about 15 years and the kind of hiring that's come largely from IT. Give me a little bit more info about the trends that you've seen within IT hiring in specific and how it stacks up to other industries, and whether or not what you've seen with IT you feel is just an aberration because this was the appraisal quarter. Typically it's the year end when you do see high attrition as such as well.
Actually there are maybe 2 or 3 stories playing out there. See, one is this whole startup story, which actually is not a very big part of our story because we don't really, do a lot of business with startups. Of course, it impacts our hiring. But the startup market, as we know, is on fire. More than 24 unicorns in the last 1 year. Every company has raised hundreds of millions of dollars and they all want to hire people. But they all want to hire very high quality talent. And that talent is limited in number. And therefore, there's a massive war for talent in the startup space. In fact, companies are finding it difficult to stay at the same level. They're not able to add headcount. That's how bad it is. Then there is the whole IT services market, the export market, the Indian IT services companies. There are thousands of them, and they work with international clients. And there, I think what is playing out is this whole digital transformation story, which is not just an Indian story, but it's a global story thanks to COVID, right? Every company overseas wants to go digital. Every offline company wants to go digital. There are online companies, of course, they've been around for the longest time and they're getting more and more funding. But every traditional company, whether it's a traditional retailer, or it's an airline, or it's a media company, just name the sector. Every company in every sector now wants to go digital and they want to be aggressive on digital. Previously, they used to say, listen, okay, the next 5 years, we get 20% of our business from digital, it's good. Today, they all want 70% of their business, 80% of their business to come from digital in the next 3, 4, 5 years. It's a bank, insurance companies, airlines, retailers, media companies, you name them. And that's creating massive demand for digital talent globally. And of course, a lot of these companies look to India for digital talent and for IT services. But even India is right now not able to deliver. There is a shortage of IT professionals in India who can actually meet demand, to meet demand of all these of this business just flowing in from overseas. So let's see how this plays out. I hope it's not an aberration. I hope this is a long-term trend. Chances are it is, because the digital story is here to stay. It's not going to change, right? And then, of course, you are seeing this digital story play out locally as well. See, every local non-IT company in India wants to go digital, right? So whether it's a local bank, or whether it's a local insurance company, or whether it's a local retailer, they all now want to hire IT people, right? So traditionally, they used to hire non-IT folks, which is why you see this massive dichotomy in the hiring market. There is massive demand for IT talent and not much demand for other talent. And IT salaries are going through the roof. There is, anecdotally, I can tell you, companies are giving 30, 40, 50% jumps to IT folks, right? There are stories you hear of people getting 100% jumps, 200% jumps as well, right? But only IT folks, only people with digital skills, not the rest of the economy. Hopefully, the rest of the economy will also bounce back in the next couple of quarters once the situation on the COVID front becomes more normal.
How much of your Naukri business you would classify as directly or indirectly dealing with IT services or IT, architect engineers? One. And second, this hiring boom, how does that translate into more business for you? Because ultimately you are an aggregator. Do you charge per application? Do you make more money because your fee is in a sense linked to the total variable pay? I'm just trying to understand that where does the upside kick in for you?
IT and IT-enabled services used to be about 40-45% of our business till, maybe 2 years ago. I think now, if you just go by the demand on our platform for IT talent, it's already maybe 55-60% of our business, right? Because that's where the demand, one, that business is growing, and two, the non-IT business has sort of remained flat or declined. And it could, given the current trends, maybe even become higher than 60% going forward. So who knows? Now, how does it flow into our sort of growth? How does it impact us in terms of revenue growth and top line and bottom line? See, what happens is when demand starts to look up, three things happen. One, attrition levels start to go up in companies. So because company attrition levels go up, they need more and more people to stay in the same place, right? Just to maintain that headcount, they need to hire more people. Two, there is normally you see a surge in new companies also. You see more companies sort of setting up shop, more startups that sort of in the space. You see more companies which had shut down also, downsize, etc., trying to upsize. So that also helps because we get more customers, right? And the third thing, which happens is that, what happens when demand goes up is that companies start buying more products. They start buying more volume. They want more CVs to access. They want to send more emailers to our database. They want to post more jobs. So we get a jump in volume. Then you get more companies, so we get more clients. And then lastly, and most importantly, because these companies make money from people. People are their, work in process. People are their raw material. If they don't get people on board quickly, they lose business actually. So, what happens is in a tough market, we end up giving a lot of discounts to customers. Pricing takes a beating, et cetera. In a market like these, companies don't care, right? So you don't have to extend discounts. You don't have to, sort of do any bulk deals. You can up prices and still get away with it. So you get higher pricing, you get higher volume, and you also get new customers. And then lastly, we've also been launching new products. And so those new products get takers because in a bullish market, people are more willing, companies are more willing to invest and try out new things as well. So it helps us on many fronts. It has a kicker impact on our business. So let's see how this plays out. I hope this boom stays and continues for some time.
Now, there are two scenarios here for the non-IT business. Let's assume that it is 40% of your business. It comes back and then you see a boom where IT is doing exceptionally well and the non-IT part kicks in. It's like Sone Pe Suhaga, next 2-3 quarters are fantastic. The other aspect could be IT comes down and you see a minor uptick in the non-IT business. What happens in both the scenarios?
So, we don't expect the non-IT business to come back with a bang, but frankly, we could be wrong because we didn't expect the IT business to come back like this, right? To grow like this. 1 year ago, if you asked me what is going to happen to IT going forward, I would have said that IT is also under pressure. We don't know how things will play out, etc. So today also, there are murmurs, there are some, anecdotally, we hear of manufacturing, sort of companies starting to do well. You hear of service sector coming back after COVID, but maybe there'll be a one-off, it may not be, unless and until the Indian economy, goes back to growing at 7% per annum or 6.5% per annum. We don't expect the non-IT part of the business to grow massively going forward. I mean, we don't expect the kind of what we are seeing in IT to happen in non-IT. Could IT slow down? It could, but I don't think so, because my sense is, if you listen to the commentary of the Indian IT services companies, what they're saying, they are finding it extremely hard to hire talent. Wage pressure is tremendous. Some of them are talking about, hiring from other countries, hiring from Eastern Europe, hiring from Latin America, stuff like that, right? So all points to the fact that the IT demand is for real and here to stay for some time. Unlike 2-3 years ago, by the way, the story 2-3 years ago was totally different. That there will be automation, there will be AI, there will be machine learning, so IT services companies will come under tremendous pressure, etc., etc. All that is not played out. What has played out is the exact opposite in the last 2-3 years. So it's very difficult to say what is going to happen going forward, but we are sort of prepared. We are continue to invest in our business. We continue to focus on both IT and non-IT pieces. We have customers across the board. Hopefully, both segments will do well going forward. If not both, at least one of them will do well going forward.
Part, which is that you've literally hit out of the park with Zomato. Policy Bazaar is next. What happens after that? Suddenly, does your investee pipeline becomes dry because the other businesses what you've incubated, and I'm not talking about 99 acres or Jeevan Saathi, the other companies where you've invested, no other business has reached a size where post Policy Bazaar we should expect any listing. Is my assessment right?
Yeah, you're right in saying that, once Policy Bazaar goes public, the IPO pipeline, we don't have an IPO pipe. We don't have a company looking to go public every 6 months in our portfolio, and that doesn't happen normally. I mean, even IPO, Policy Bazaar and Zomato, we first put money in them 13 years ago. We invested in them in 2008, and they're now going public. And they're still losing money, by the way, right? But they have exciting growth prospects. We've, over the last, 12, 13 years, invested in maybe 7-8 businesses inside the companies, large and small, and another maybe 15, 20 outside. Now, these businesses are not the businesses inside the company, we're not going to IPO them because they're part of Info Edge. Info Edge is already public. Whether it's 99 acres or Jeevan Saathi or Shiksha, they're all doing well. They have exciting prospects, but they're not likely to go public because they're part of Info Edge is already public. The investments we made outside, the financial investments we made over the years, we have a bunch of companies that are doing well, by the way, right? They've seen up rounds, but in many of these companies, we started investing maybe 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago. They're a little away. I mean, they're some distance away from sort of hitting the public market. Some of them may never hit the public market. Some of them may fail. Some of them may succeed beyond our wildest imagination. Who knows? But we've got a solid portfolio. We've got a solid portfolio of companies we've invested in, which are doing well in our view, right? But maybe they're not at a stage where they can go public, but hopefully some of them will sort of be large enough to go public in the next 3 to 5 years, maybe not in the next 1 or 2 years.
The problem on coming on your channel is that you already know everything. I just heard your introduction. And what can anybody add to that?
I think the nation watches you every day, many hours during the day.
So Nikunj, that's why I love to interview with ET now and all of you, because you somehow seem to know the language that we speak.
I should watch ET more often. You guys have changed the whole world.
This is a very insightful question that you're asking, Nikunj, and almost seems like you were listening in on the deliberation the committee was doing.
Stock markets is a numbers game, and it sometimes does come across as one-dimensional. But what people don't see is that these numbers, when strung together, tell a story. There's no really black or white. It very much seems to be a work in progress of triumphs and mistakes, greed and fear. And I bring you that story behind the numbers in action.
In individual sectors.
What's the sense that you're getting on volume growth?
Just clarify this entire
What
case.
is it going to mean for the business? What else are you looking at?
It was clearly one of the biggest deals.
Here at ET now, I've been getting you bit by bit.